The alarm bells rang through the massive space station that floated between three dying stars. Commander Velnox pressed his scaled hand against the control panel and felt his heart sink. The message that came through the quantum communication system was something no one in the Galactic Council had ever expected to see. Admiral Zix Ithera was missing. Her entire battle fleet was gone without a trace. The Draconian Empire had ruled over 47 star systems for more than 3,000 years. Their warships were the most feared sight in the galaxy. When other species saw the black hulls of Draconian vessels approaching their worlds, they either surrendered immediately or prepared to die fighting a hopeless battle. But now 300 of those warships had simply vanished near a small blue planet called Earth. Velnox walked quickly through the curved hallways of the station toward the emergency council chamber. Other species were already gathering there. The tall, thin Altarians moved like graceful birds. The rock-like granite people rolled along the floor on their heavy bodies. Even the mysterious energy beings had sent representatives appearing as glowing balls of light that floated near the ceiling. Ambassador Kethlon of the Altarian Federation was the first to speak when the meeting began. His voice carried the musical quality that all his people shared. How does an entire Draconian battle fleet simply disappear? Their ships are equipped with the most advanced technology in known space. A deep rumbling voice came from General C. Thakmore of the Granite People. The Draconians have quantum shields that can stop any weapon we know about. Their engines can tear holes in space itself to escape danger. What could possibly destroy them all without sending even one distress signal? The energy being pulsed with worried colors as it spoke through the translation device. Our sensors across 17 nearby systems detected no explosions, no energy discharges, nothing that would indicate a battle. The fleet was there one moment, scanning the primitive world, and gone the next. Far away from the council station, on the small blue planet that had caused all this trouble, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his monitoring station drinking cold coffee and trying to stay awake during the night shift. The screens around him showed the quiet emptiness of space beyond Earth's solar system. Nothing interesting had happened in months. His communications officer, Lisa Grant, looked up from her console with a puzzled expression. "Jake, I'm getting some weird readings from the outer sensor grid. There's been unusual energy activity near the asteroid belt for the past few days." Jake walked over to look at her screen. The data showed strange patterns of electromagnetic activity, but nothing that looked like normal space traffic. "Could be solar flares reflecting off the metal rocks out there. Have Ben take a look at it when he comes in tomorrow." Lisa nodded and went back to her routine monitoring. She had no idea that the energy readings she was seeing were the last traces of the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Ben Parker arrived the next morning and spent several hours studying the sensor data. As Earth's best tactical analyst, he had learned to spot patterns that others missed. But these readings made no sense to him. The energy signatures appeared and disappeared in ways that didn't match any known technology. "It's probably just equipment problems," he told Jake later that day. "Our sensors are getting old, and we keep finding new ways they can malfunction." Jake agreed. The Earth Defense Force was still using technology that was decades behind what they really needed. After the recent wars with space pirates, most of their budget went to repairing damaged equipment rather than buying new systems. Back at the Galactic Council Station, the emergency meeting had been going on for hours. Species from across the galaxy were trying to understand what could have happened to the Draconian fleet. Some suggested that Admiral Zix Ithera had discovered a new enemy and was fighting a secret war. Others wondered if the fleet had found ancient technology that somehow destroyed them. Commander Velnox listened to all the theories but kept thinking about the location where the fleet had vanished. Earth was listed in their databases as a primitive world, with a young species that had barely learned to leave their home planet. Humans had crude nuclear weapons and simple chemical rockets. They posed no threat to anyone beyond their own solar system. "What do we actually know about this Earth?" Velnox asked during a brief pause in the discussion. Ambassador Kethlon touched his control pad and brought up a holographic display. "The humans achieved spaceflight only about 70 years ago. They have small colonies on 2 nearby planets and some mining operations in their asteroid belt. Their most advanced warships carry weapons that couldn't damage even our oldest cargo vessels. General Thakmore's rocky body shifted with what might have been laughter. A species that primitive couldn't harm a single Draconian fighter, let alone destroy 300 capital ships, the energy being pulsed thoughtfully. Yet the fleet disappeared while investigating their world. Perhaps we should not dismiss the humans so quickly. What are you suggesting? Velnox asked. I'm suggesting that we don't know everything about this species. The Draconians thought they were conducting a routine intimidation mission. They expected to frighten the humans into immediate surrender, just like 47 other worlds before them. Something went very wrong. The council chamber fell silent as the members considered this possibility. If primitive humans had somehow destroyed a Draconian battle fleet, then everything they thought they knew about galactic power was wrong. Dr. Kate Sullivan worked late in her laboratory on Earth, studying rock samples that had been collected from the asteroid belt. As Earth's leading expert on alien materials, she often received strange specimens that needed identification. But these latest samples were unlike anything she had seen before. The metal fragments contained elements that didn't exist in any human periodic table. Their molecular structure seemed to shift and change when observed under different types of radiation. Most puzzling of all, they seemed to generate small amounts of energy on their own. Ryan, you need to see this, she called to her colleague Dr. Ryan Cross in the next room. These fragments are doing something that should be impossible. Ryan came over and looked at her readings. As a physicist, he understood energy patterns better than anyone else on Earth. What he saw on Kate's screens made him forget to breathe for a moment. Kate, where exactly did these samples come from? Mining Platform 7 picked them up 3 days ago. They were drifting in a debris field that wasn't there last week. Ryan studied the energy readings more carefully. This isn't natural. These fragments were created by technology far beyond anything we understand. But what's really interesting is how they're reacting to Earth's magnetic field. Neither scientist realized that they were looking at pieces of Draconian warships, torn apart by forces that their own species had accidentally created. Dr. Kate Sullivan barely slept that night. The strange metal fragments kept spinning through her mind like a puzzle that refused to be solved. She arrived at her laboratory before sunrise and immediately began running new tests on the mysterious samples. Her equipment showed readings that changed every few minutes. The fragments seemed to respond to different types of energy in ways that made no scientific sense. When she exposed them to radio waves, they glowed with a soft blue light. Under X-ray examination, their internal structure appeared to shift and reorganize itself. Dr. Ryan Cross joined her an hour later carrying 2 cups of hot coffee and a stack of printed reports. I spent all night researching these energy patterns, he said, setting the papers on her desk. Kate, I think we're looking at technology that's hundreds of years ahead of anything humans have built. Kate looked up from her microscope with tired eyes. That's impossible. These fragments came from our own asteroid belt. There's no way alien technology could just appear there without us detecting the ships that carried it. Unless the ships were destroyed so completely that only small pieces remained, Ryan suggested. Look at these molecular scans. The metal shows signs of extreme stress like it was torn apart by massive forces. But there's no evidence of explosions or weapon damage. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, the Galactic Council had made a decision that would change everything. They were sending their best investigation team to Earth's solar system to find out what happened to the Draconian fleet. Captain Veltar of the insectoid Zephyrian species commanded the probe ship that would make first contact with humanity. His vessel was small but equipped with the most advanced sensors in Council space. The ship could scan entire planets from millions of miles away and detect energy signatures that other races couldn't even imagine. Veltar studied the files about Earth during the long journey to the human solar system. The information was basic and mostly outdated. Humans had developed nuclear weapons but had never used them in space combat. Their largest warships carried crude missiles and simple energy weapons. According to all available data, they posed no threat to anyone with real military technology. Captain, his sensor officer clicked in the musical language of the Zephyrians. We are approaching the outer edge of the human system. I'm detecting multiple small vessels patrolling the area around their largest gas planet. Veltar moved to the sensor station and examined the readings. The human ships were exactly as primitive as the reports suggested. They used basic fusion, engines, and carried weapons that would be useless against any council member's technology. Maintain distance and begin deep scans for any trace of the missing Draconian fleet. On Earth, Lieutenant Commander Amy Foster was having a routine day. Aboard the patrol vessel Defiant when everything changed. Her ship was conducting standard security sweeps near Jupiter when the sensors detected something that shouldn't exist. "Commander, we have an unknown contact approaching from outside the system," reported her tactical officer. "The object is much larger than our ships but moving on a trajectory that suggests intelligent control." Amy felt her pulse quicken. First contact with alien species was something every Earth Defense Force officer had trained for, but no one really expected it to happen during a routine patrol mission. Send word to Earth Command immediately, then open a communication channel on all frequencies. Dr. Carl Henderson was Earth's only expert in xenolinguistics, which meant he was the person everyone called when they needed to talk to aliens. He had spent years developing theoretical frameworks for communicating with non-human intelligence, but he never imagined he would actually need to use them. When the emergency call came from the Defiant, Carl was eating lunch in his small office at the University of Chicago. 20 minutes later, he was on a military transport heading to the nearest space station, carrying a briefcase full of translation equipment that had never been tested with real aliens. The first conversation between humans and the Galactic Council was awkward and confusing. Captain Veltar spoke through advanced translation devices, but many concepts didn't transfer well between species. The Zephyrians communicated partially through sound and partially through chemical signals, which made direct translation almost impossible. "We are investigating the disappearance of military vessels in this region," Veltar explained through the static-filled communication link. "Has your species detected any unusual activity in recent days?" Dr. Henderson struggled to find the right words. "We have observed some strange energy readings, but nothing that would indicate the presence of other spacefaring civilizations. How many vessels are missing?" 300 capital ships of the Draconian Empire vanished near your world 4 days ago. These were among the most powerful warships in known space." Amy Foster felt the blood drain from her face. 300 alien warships had been operating near Earth without any human knowledge. If they had wanted to attack, Earth's defenses would have been completely useless. Back on Earth, President Helen Carter received the first contact report in her Situation Room beneath the White House. Defense Secretary Steve Walsh sat across from her, reading the preliminary communication transcripts with growing concern. "Madam President," Steve said, "if this alien captain is telling the truth, then we were completely unaware of a massive military threat operating in our own solar system. Our early warning systems detected nothing." President Carter studied the reports carefully. "But according to this Captain Veltar, the alien fleet disappeared. Something destroyed or drove away 300 advanced warships, and we have no idea what did it." "That's what worries me most," Steve replied. "If there's something out there powerful enough to eliminate that kind of force, we need to know what it is and whether it's friendly to humanity." The investigation team from the Galactic Council spent the next 2 days scanning Earth's solar system with equipment far beyond human understanding. They found traces of Draconian technology scattered throughout the asteroid belt, but the readings were strange and incomplete. "The energy signatures don't match any known weapon system," Veltar reported to his crew. "The Draconian ships appear to have been displaced rather than destroyed, but displaced to where?" His science officer, a crystalline being that communicated through light patterns, flickered with confusion. "Captain, the quantum residue suggests dimensional interference. Something caused massive distortions in spacetime around the time the fleet vanished." Veltar had heard of dimensional weapons in theoretical discussions, but no known species had ever successfully built them. The technology required understanding of physics that was beyond even the most advanced civilizations in the Council. Dr. Kate Sullivan made another discovery that night while working alone in her laboratory. The metal fragments were reacting to Earth's magnetic field in ways that seemed almost intentional. When she placed them near a strong electromagnet, they arranged themselves in complex geometric patterns. It's like they're trying to form some kind of structure, she whispered to herself. But what were they originally part of? She had no way of knowing that the fragments in her laboratory were pieces of Admiral Zixathera's flagship, torn apart by forces that humanity had accidentally created while trying to build better asteroid mining equipment. The truth was much stranger than anyone imagined, and it would shake the foundations of galactic civilization when it was finally revealed. The Galactic Council's decision came after 3 days of heated debate across 17 different species. They would send their largest investigation fleet to Earth's solar system, commanded by the most experienced officer they had available. Commander Thixandra of the crystalline resonant species had solved mysteries that had puzzled the galaxy for centuries. Her people could see energy patterns that other races couldn't detect, and their ships carried sensors that could analyze the smallest traces of quantum disturbance. If anyone could discover what happened to the Draconian fleet, it would be her. The investigation fleet consisted of 47 ships from 12 different species. Each vessel brought unique technology and scientific equipment. The energy beings contributed scanners that could detect dimensional rifts. The granite people provided massive computational power to analyze complex data patterns. Even the normally peaceful flower folk sent their best botanical experts in case the mystery involved some form of biological warfare. On Earth, Captain Jake Morrison found himself promoted to temporary commander of all human space operations in the outer solar system. The responsibility felt overwhelming. His small fleet of patrol ships was designed to handle pirates and smugglers, not to deal with galactic politics and missing alien armies. His team worked around the clock trying to understand what was happening. Engineer Tony Richards spent his days upgrading their sensor arrays with spare parts and creative solutions. Software specialist Megan Clark wrote new programs to analyze the strange energy readings that kept appearing throughout the asteroid belt. "Jake, you need to see this," Megan called from her workstation late one evening. "I've been comparing our sensor logs with the time frame when the alien fleet supposedly disappeared. There's something really weird about the pattern." Jake walked over to look at her screen. The data showed energy spikes occurring in a specific sequence, moving outward from Earth toward the asteroid belt. "What am I looking at?" "These readings happened every 12 hours, starting 4 days ago. It's like something was pulsing outward from our planet in regular waves. But here's the strange part. Our equipment shouldn't be able to detect energy at these frequencies." Tony Richards joined them at the computer terminal. "I've been thinking about those metal fragments that Dr. Sullivan found. What if they're not just random debris? What if they're pieces of something much larger that got torn apart?" Meanwhile, Dr. Kate Sullivan was making discoveries that would have shocked the entire galaxy if they had known about them. Working with Dr. Ryan Cross in their laboratory, she had determined that the alien metal fragments were responding to changes in Earth's magnetic field. "Ryan, look at this," she said, pointing to her latest test results. "When I expose these fragments to the exact magnetic frequency that Earth generates, they start to vibrate. But it's not random vibration. There's a pattern to it." Dr. Cross studied the readings carefully. "It's almost like they're trying to resonate with something. But what could create this effect?" "I have an idea, but you're going to think I'm crazy," Kate replied. "What if these fragments are pieces of technology that was designed to work with magnetic fields? And what if Earth's magnetic field somehow interfered with that technology?" The breakthrough came when Kate decided to test her theory. Using the university's experimental magnetic resonance equipment, she placed the alien fragments in a chamber that could generate magnetic fields identical to Earth's natural magnetosphere, then gradually increase the intensity. At exactly 1.7 times Earth's normal magnetic strength, something incredible happened. The fragments began to glow with intense light and started moving toward each other as if trying to reconnect. But when the magnetic field reached twice normal strength, the fragments suddenly stopped glowing and became completely inert. "Ryan, I think we just discovered what happened to that alien fleet," Kate whispered. Commander Thixandra's investigation fleet arrived in Earth's solar system with great ceremony and careful preparation. Her flagship was a beautiful crystalline structure, that could change shape according to the type of analysis being performed. The other ships spread out across the solar system, each one scanning a different region for clues. The initial results were puzzling. Thixandra's sensors could detect traces of Draconian technology throughout the asteroid belt, but the readings were fragmented and inconsistent. It was as if the massive warships had been broken down to the molecular level and scattered across millions of miles of space. "Commander," her science officer reported, "we're detecting quantum signatures that match Draconian shield harmonics, but they're mixed with energy patterns we don't recognize. The unknown energy appears to be artificial, but it doesn't match any technology in our databases." Thixandra's crystalline body shifted colors as she processed this information. "Are you suggesting that some unknown species attacked the Draconian fleet with weapons we've never encountered?" "It's possible, but there's another explanation that might be even stranger. The energy patterns we're detecting appear to originate from the third planet in this system, from Earth itself. Ambassador Peter Evans had been Earth's first choice for diplomatic contact with the investigation fleet because he had experience negotiating with difficult personalities during the recent pirate conflicts, but nothing had prepared him for the complexity of galactic politics. The meeting took place aboard Commander Thixandra's flagship, in a chamber specially designed to accommodate multiple species with different environmental needs. Peter wore a standard spacesuit while surrounded by beings that looked like living crystals, floating energy balls, and creatures that seemed to be made of metal and stone. "Ambassador Evans," Commander Thixandra spoke through translation devices that made her voice sound like musical chimes, "we need to understand what your species knows about the disappearance of the Draconian fleet. Our sensors indicate that the energy disturbance originated from your planet." Peter felt sweat forming inside his helmet. "Commander, I can assure you that Earth had no knowledge of any alien fleet operating in our solar system. We lack the technology to detect ships at the distances you're describing, let alone attack them." "Yet our evidence suggests otherwise," interrupted Captain Veltar of the Zephyrians. "The quantum residue we've detected can only be created by advanced dimensional manipulation technology. Either your species possesses capabilities far beyond what you've revealed, or something on your planet is generating these effects without your knowledge." The possibility that Earth might be harboring unknown technology worried Peter more than he wanted to admit. If there were secret human projects capable of eliminating entire alien fleets, then Earth's government needed to know about them immediately. Back on Earth, President Helen Carter convened an emergency meeting of her top scientific and military advisors. The reports from the investigation fleet were deeply troubling. Either Earth was under threat from an unknown enemy, or humanity possessed capabilities that their own government didn't know about. "Dr. Sullivan, you've been studying the alien debris fragments," President Carter said. "Is there any possibility that they're connected to secret human technology?" Kate hesitated before answering. "Madam President, my research suggests that these fragments were destroyed by interaction with Earth's magnetic field, but our planet's magnetosphere isn't strong enough to damage advanced alien technology unless that technology was specifically vulnerable to magnetic interference." Defense Secretary Steve Walsh leaned forward in his chair. "Are you saying that these aliens built warships that could be destroyed by magnetic fields?" "I'm saying that's one possibility. The other possibility is that something on Earth modified our planet's magnetic field to make it dangerous to alien technology. And if that's true, then we need to find out what did it and whether it's still active." The investigation was about to uncover humanity's greatest secret, hidden in plain sight among Earth's classified defense projects. The truth would shock both humans and aliens, revealing that sometimes the most devastating weapons are created, not through military ambition, but through scientific curiosity and accidental discovery. The secret facility was hidden beneath the mountains of Colorado, so deep underground that most government officials didn't know it existed. Dr. Nancy Kim had worked there for 15 years, developing technologies that were decades ahead of anything the public knew about. Her team had one mission: prepare Earth for the day when hostile aliens might threaten humanity. That day had come sooner than anyone expected, but not in the way they had planned. Colonel Danny Wright stood in the War facility's main control room, watching dozens of screens that showed energy readings from across the solar system. As the military commander of Project Deep Shield, he knew more about Earth's hidden defenses than anyone except Dr. Kim herself. "Nancy, we have a problem," he said, turning to face the small woman who had become Earth's most dangerous scientist, without ever meaning to. "The alien investigation fleet is asking questions that are getting too close to the truth." Dr. Kim looked up from her computer terminal, where she had been analyzing the latest data from the quantum resonance field generators. The machines hummed quietly around them, devices that looked harmless but had accidentally created the most powerful defensive system in the galaxy. "How much do they know?" she asked. "They know that something on Earth modified our planet's magnetic field. They know the energy disturbance that destroyed the Draconian fleet came from our direction. It's only a matter of time before they realize we're responsible." Dr. Kim had spent the last 4 days trying to understand exactly what her machines had done. The quantum resonance field generators were designed to detect incoming alien ships by scanning for unusual energy patterns in space. They worked by sending out invisible pulses that could identify the quantum signatures of advanced technology. But something had gone wrong with the latest calibration tests. Instead of just detecting alien ships, the generators had created a feedback loop with Earth's magnetic field. The planet's natural magnetosphere had been amplified and modified in ways that Dr. Kim was still trying to comprehend. "Colonel, I need to show you something," she said, leading him to a smaller room filled with monitoring equipment. "Look at these readings from 4 days ago." The screen showed energy patterns that looked like ripples spreading outward from Earth. Our generators were running a routine test scan when they picked up the Draconian fleet approaching the outer solar system. The machines automatically increased power to get better readings on such a large formation of ships. Colonel Wright studied the data carefully. What exactly happened next? The quantum pulses from our generators interacted with the Draconian ship's shield systems in a way we never predicted. Their shields used harmonic resonance technology to deflect energy weapons. But our pulses were designed to penetrate those same harmonic frequencies. Dr. Kim switched to another screen that showed the moment of contact. When our enhanced magnetic field reached the Draconian fleet, it didn't destroy their ships with explosions or weapons fire. Instead, it created dimensional fractures in the space around each vessel. Dimensional fractures? Colonel Wright had heard theoretical discussions about such things, but he never imagined they could be created accidentally. The Draconian ships were pushed out of normal space-time and scattered across parallel dimensions. "They're not dead, Colonel. They're lost in spaces that exist alongside our universe but can't be reached by conventional technology." Back on the surface, President Helen Carter was facing the most difficult decision of her presidency. The alien investigation fleet was demanding answers that Earth couldn't provide, without revealing military secrets that had protected humanity for years. Ambassador Peter Evans had returned from his second meeting with Commander Thixandra with news that made the situation even more complicated. "Madam President, the aliens are convinced that Earth possesses advanced dimensional warfare technology. They're not sure whether to fear us or ask for our help." Defense Secretary Steve Walsh spread classified reports across the conference table. "The situation is worse than we thought. Word is spreading throughout the galaxy that humanity destroyed an entire Draconian battle fleet. Species that were afraid of the Draconians are now wondering if they should be afraid of us instead." President Carter read through the reports with growing concern. "Steve, what are the Draconians themselves saying about this?" "That's the most worrying part, Madam President. The Draconian Empire has remained completely silent since their fleet disappeared. No official statements, no threats, no demands for explanations. That kind of silence from the Draconians usually means they're planning something big." Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison was discovering that commanding Earth's space defenses had become much more complicated since first contact with the galactic community. His small fleet was now being watched by dozens of alien ships, each one equipped with sensors far beyond human technology. "Captain," Communications Officer Lisa Grant reported, "we're receiving a priority message from Earth Command. They want you to return to Earth immediately for a classified briefing." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Classified briefings, During first contact situations usually meant that someone had discovered secrets that were supposed to stay hidden. Lisa, transfer command to Lieutenant Hayes and prepare the fastest ship we have. I have a feeling this meeting is going to change everything. Dr. Kate Sullivan and Dr. Ryan Cross were escorted to the secret facility in Colorado by military personnel who wouldn't answer any of their questions. The underground complex was unlike anything either scientist had ever seen, filled with technology that seemed decades ahead of current human capabilities. Dr. Nancy Kim met them in the main laboratory, where the quantum resonance field generators stood like metallic monoliths, surrounded by control systems and monitoring equipment. Dr. Sullivan, Dr. Cross, I understand you've been studying fragments of alien technology. Kate nodded, still amazed by her surroundings. We've determined that the fragments were destroyed by some kind of magnetic field interaction, but we couldn't figure out what could generate that kind of effect. You're looking at it, Dr. Kim replied, gesturing toward the massive machines. These generators were designed to protect Earth by detecting incoming alien threats. Instead, they accidentally created the most powerful defensive weapon in the galaxy. Ryan Cross examined the quantum generators with growing understanding. These machines modified Earth's magnetic field to resonate at frequencies that interfere with alien shield technology. When the Draconian fleet approached with their shields raised, your generators turned our planet's magnetosphere into a dimensional displacement field. Exactly, Dr. Kim confirmed. We didn't destroy the Draconian fleet. We banished them to parallel dimensions where they can't return or even send messages back to their empire. The truth was finally revealed, but it created more problems than it solved. Earth had defended itself successfully, but in doing so had announced to the galaxy that humanity possessed capabilities that could threaten any spacefaring civilization. Colonel Wright received the latest intelligence reports from their contacts throughout human space. Dr. Kim, we have confirmation that several alien species are requesting emergency council meetings to discuss the human threat. Others are sending diplomatic missions to Earth, hoping to form alliances with us. And the Draconians, Dr. Kim asked, still silent. But our deep space monitors have detected massive fleet movements throughout their territory. They're mobilizing everything they have. Dr. Kim looked at the quantum generators that had changed humanity's place in the galaxy forever. Colonel, I think we're about to discover that eliminating one Draconian fleet was just the beginning of our problems. When the most feared empire in the galaxy loses 300 warships to a species they considered primitive, they don't just accept defeat. They come back with everything they have, Colonel Wright finished grimly. The secret that was supposed to protect Earth had instead made humanity the most watched species in the galaxy. And somewhere in the parallel dimensions created by human technology, Admiral Zix Thera and her fleet were trying to find a way home, carrying with them knowledge that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The message arrived through every communication channel in the galaxy at exactly the same time. The Draconian Empire's silence had finally ended, and their words shook every world that heard them. To all species of the galactic community, the voice of Emperor Krexthul boomed across the stars. The Draconian Empire acknowledges the loss of Admiral Zixathera's fleet near the world called Earth. We do not seek vengeance. We seek understanding. Commander Thixandra received the message aboard her flagship while conducting final scans of Earth's solar system. Her crystalline body flickered with confusion as she processed the unexpected words. The Draconians never admitted weakness, and they certainly never asked for understanding instead of demanding surrender. Commander, her communications officer reported, we're receiving a direct message from the Draconian homeworld. They're requesting immediate contact with Earth's government. On Earth, President Helen Carter sat in the White House Situation room with her entire cabinet, watching as history unfolded in ways no one had predicted. The emergency session had been called when deep space monitors detected the largest fleet movement in galactic history. Every Draconian warship in the Empire was moving toward Earth's solar system. Madam President, Defense Secretary Steve Walsh, said, our satellites show over 2,000 Draconian vessels approaching our position. They'll arrive in approximately 6 hours. President Carter looked at the faces around the table. These were people who had guided Earth through wars with pirates and conflicts between colonies, but none of them had ever faced a threat like this. Options? Dr. Nancy Kim spoke from her seat at the far end of the table. The quantum resonance generators are still operational. If we need to defend Earth again, we can activate the dimensional displacement field. But, Madam President, using it against such a large fleet might tear holes in space-time itself. Colonel Danny Wright added his military perspective. Our conventional forces are useless against Draconian technology. If they want to attack Earth, our only hope is Dr. Kim's dimensional weapon. But the risks? The risks of using it might be greater than the risks of not using it, Dr. Kim interrupted. I've been running calculations since yesterday. Displacing 2,000 ships simultaneously could create dimensional fractures that affect our entire solar system. Meanwhile, in a parallel dimension that existed alongside normal space, Admiral Zixthera and her surviving crew had spent 4 days trying to understand what had happened to them. Their ships floated in a place that looked almost like normal space, but the stars were different colors and the laws of physics worked in strange ways. Admiral, her science officer reported, I believe I understand how we were transported here. The humans somehow modified their planet's magnetic field to create dimensional rifts, but the process appears to have been accidental. Zixthera studied the readings on her damaged instruments. Her flagship was operational but trapped in a dimension that existed parallel to the real universe. Accidental? You're telling me that a primitive species banished our entire fleet by accident? The energy patterns suggest exactly that, Admiral. Their technology appears to be designed for detection and defense, not dimensional warfare. They may not even realize what they accomplished. The Admiral's scaled features twisted into what might have been a smile. In her long military career, she had conquered dozens of worlds through superior technology and overwhelming force, but she had never encountered a species that could defeat the Draconian Empire through pure accident and scientific curiosity. Back in normal space, the first Draconian ships arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system, with their weapons powered down and their shields configured for defense rather than attack. The massive black vessels spread out in a formation that surrounded Earth, but made no aggressive moves. Ambassador Peter Evans found himself once again aboard an alien flagship. But this time the meeting was different. Emperor Krexthul himself had come to Earth, traveling in a ship so large that it could carry entire cities within its hull. The Draconian Emperor was 7 feet tall with dark scales that seemed to absorb light. His eyes were the color of molten gold, and when he spoke, his voice carried the authority of someone who had ruled 47 star systems for over a century. Ambassador Evans, the Emperor said, your species has accomplished something that no military force in the galaxy has ever achieved. You defeated a Draconian battle fleet without firing a single shot. Peter felt sweat forming under his formal diplomatic uniform. Your Majesty, Earth had no intention of engaging in hostile action against your forces. If our technology somehow interfered with your ships, it was completely accidental. Emperor Krexthul studied the human ambassador with interest. That is precisely what makes this situation so remarkable. The Draconian Empire has spent 3,000 years conquering other species through military superiority. We have never encountered a civilization that could neutralize our forces through scientific innovation rather than warfare. The Emperor moved to a viewing window that showed Earth floating in space below them. Ambassador, your species has revealed a fundamental weakness in Draconian military doctrine. Our shields and weapons are designed to counter direct attacks, but they are vulnerable to dimensional manipulation technology. What does this mean for the relationship between our species? Peter asked carefully. It means, the Emperor replied, that the Draconian Empire offers Earth a partnership unlike any we have ever proposed. We will share our advanced technology and military protection in exchange for access to your dimensional research. The proposal shocked both governments and the entire galactic community. The Draconians had never offered equal partnerships to other species. They conquered or ignored, but they never negotiated as equals. Dr. Nancy Kim was among the first humans to board a Draconian research vessel, where she met scientists who had studied dimensional physics for centuries without achieving what her team had accomplished by accident. The exchange of knowledge would advance both civilizations by thousands of years. Dr. Kim, the Draconian chief scientist, explained, "Your quantum resonance generators solve theoretical problems that we have struggled with for generations. But more importantly, your approach to the research is completely different from ours." "How so?" Dr. Kim asked. "Draconian science focuses on control and predictability. We build technology to achieve specific military objectives. Your team built machines for exploration and discovery, which led you to breakthroughs that military research never could have achieved." Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to Admiral of Earth's first interstellar fleet, watched from his command ship as human and Draconian vessels conducted joint training exercises. The sight would have been impossible to imagine just weeks before. Admiral Zixithera had been rescued from the parallel dimension using improved versions of Dr. Kim's generators. Her return had provided crucial intelligence about dimensional travel that opened new possibilities for exploration and defense. "Admiral Morrison," she said during their first meeting, "your species has changed the balance of power in this galaxy forever. The Draconian Empire ruled through fear of our military might. Now other species see that even the mighty Draconians can be defeated by creative thinking and scientific innovation. The long-term effects of Earth's accidental victory were still unfolding. Species throughout the galaxy began developing their own research programs, hoping to discover technologies that could level the playing field with more advanced civilizations." President Carter reflected on the changes during a quiet moment in the Oval Office. Earth had gone from an isolated world on the edge of galactic civilization to a major power that other species respected and sometimes feared. But the most important change was philosophical rather than political. Humanity had proven that the greatest strength in the universe wasn't superior weapons or advanced technology. It was the willingness to explore unknown possibilities and the courage to pursue scientific discovery even when the results couldn't be predicted. The Draconian fleet's mysterious disappearance near Earth had indeed shaken the galaxy, but not in the way anyone expected. Instead of creating fear and destruction, it had opened doorways to new forms of cooperation and understanding between species that had never considered each other as equals. And in the research facilities beneath Colorado's mountains, Dr. Nancy Kim continued her work with quantum resonance technology, knowing that humanity's greatest discoveries were still waiting to be found through the combination of scientific curiosity and accidental genius.